Hey everybody, sorry I was not very organized tonight. I thought I was live and I was not, so I started the tea. So I brought my 3 cups of water to a boil and added a cup of cane sugar in here. And so you stir that until the sugar dissolves. And then I had my 15 grams of the kombucha green base because we're using the green base today. So I've got that brewing. That's going to brew for 10 minutes. We have about 6 minutes left because I've been talking for 4 minutes, not realizing that I wasn't live. So if anybody has any questions about brewing kombucha or wants to know what flavors, has suggestions what flavors they'd like to see me try, please feel free to share that in the comments. So this is my new SCOBY hotel. You want to use glass. You don't want to use plastic or wood in any of your utensils. So like I used a metal whisk. You don't want to be using plastic or wood. And so I will feed my SCOBYs tonight because they need to be fed. So I'll keep a little bit of the tea and feed the SCOBYs instead of adding it all to my kombucha. So we're just waiting for that to finish brewing. And then these are what we're gonna, so we're gonna let this sit, and in about 4 days, we will taste it and see if it's to temperature or to taste that we like. We are doing it in the basement this time, so it's a little cooler down here, so it'll probably take a little longer for it to come to the flavor that I like. Normally, if I keep it in the kitchen, I like my kombucha a little sweeter than like what you buy at the store. So usually at 4 days, it's about the time that I'm ready to bottle it and start flavoring it. So these are our brew and serve bottles. So they have a rubber seal in them that kind of helps with the carbonation when they're carbonating. Allows you to burp them really easy because they just clip shut. And then you can just burp them every couple days and let your pressure out. So that is getting really close. This is our customer exclusive this month. So I just had that sitting out in case anybody wanted to see. This is the Lilac Impress Me tumbler. So that comes with its own built-in infuser. And then the lid also seals it. So you have to push the button to even drink out of it. I do not have the purple one, but I do have a copper one that I had gotten. And I will tell you, it can keep your tea warm for at least 8 to 10 hours. It won't still be steaming hot at that point, but it'll still be warm to drink. And that tumbler comes with the creamy root beer green tea. And that one, I like this one cold. To me, root beer is more of a cold, so we tend to drink that one iced, but you could easily drink it hot in your tumbler. That set is $22 when you buy $65 during the month of April. So three more minutes left on our brew. Like I said, if anybody has any questions or comments on the brewing, please feel free to post those, or if you're watching on the replay, again, we're just making a batch of kombucha, and then we're going to walk through the steps during the week. So at day 4, we will taste the kombucha that's in the jar and see where the flavor's at. I'm guessing it's going to take longer than that this time because, like I said, we're brewing it in the basement this time where it's going to be cooler, and it tends to work faster when you're in a warm, like usually I do it in the kitchen, and then at 4 days, it's at the point that I like it to start brewing it with the tea. So I guess I can show you the rest of the pieces that we will be using. This is our kombucha strainer, and that's used for a couple different parts during the brewing process. So after I bottle mine, I will use this to get my tea that I'm going to flavor each one with. The nice part about using the brew and serve bottles also is that you can flavor each of your bottles differently if you want to, so you have a variety instead of brewing them all the same flavor. Then we will also use this. We'll put the strainer back in, and once this is carbonated as much as we want it to, we will get ready to put it in the refrigerator. And at that point, I usually drain the tea out, whatever I'm using. So then I'll use this to strain it into another bottle before putting it in the refrigerator. And I just keep the brew and serve bottles right in the fridge and then use those to pour my kombucha when I want to drink it. This is the kombucha pitcher that comes from Steep Tea. You can use it for other things. This is the handle, and then there's a glass lid, which I must have not gotten out, so that if you want to use it for other beverages, you can certainly do that with the dispenser. This is the what we will put over the top of it while we're brewing it to keep it dark. So you just flip that over the top for a cover, and that'll keep your kombucha in a dark spot. And the fact that it's down here, it'll be darker anyway, but that'll help keep anything out of it. That way you don't get dirt and bugs and things inside your kombucha after it's made. So, and I had 2 starter scobies and I have 1 baby. So I'm hoping if I get those fed that maybe those will grow a little bit more. My starter ones are pretty much the same size they were. The baby seems to be a lot bigger than the other 2. So, and they're always different. I find that when I make the kombucha, sometimes it floats, sometimes it sinks, sometimes it just lays against the side of the jar. It just depends on the batch you're brewing. So we're down to about 40 seconds and then we'll be ready to put and so we'll put this warm tea, that was probably before I went live. So this was 10 cups of cold water. So we put that in there so we can put our warm tea in there and it'll bring it to room temperature because we don't want to add the SCOBY to too warm of fluids because that can kill your SCOBY. So when then I also added a cup of the starter fluid. So the starter fluid was just what's in with your SCOBY. So you add at least a cup of that. The more you add of your starter fluid, the faster your kombucha is going to brew because that's going to give it a little boost to ferment faster. Okay, so our 10 minutes is up. I'm just going to take my tea bag out of here. And just like most of our green teas, this green kombucha base can be brewed up to 3 times. So I usually just keep that set to the side and we'll brew my next batch with that same, especially when I'm getting ready to feed them because I want to be able to feed them every so often. So I'm just going to add my hot tea in here. And it feels cool to the touch, so I'm not concerned that it's too warm. I just kind of want to be sure that it's not, once it gets mixed up, that it's not going to be too hot. So then I'm just going to reach in my jar and grab out one of my SCOBYs. And you want to make sure you're always touching things with clean hands. You don't want to have dirty hands when you're reaching in here and getting things out because anything like that can contaminate your SCOBYs. So I'm just going to add that to the jar. And it looks like he's going to float kind of towards the top for now. So again, if you guys have any questions, we will just use this group to kind of discuss the live kombucha class. And then we will go through the rest of the brewing process and discuss any questions. If you guys have some teas that you were curious about how they would taste with kombucha, I'm happy to try some other flavors. I've done like the cherry sangria. I've done a couple flavors. I can't even remember. I think magical mango is another one that I've done. And I've been happy with all of them. So then after we get done with this process, we'll bottle them. We'll add a little sugar with that tea, and that helps the carbonation. I have done it where I've forgotten to add the sugar, and I notice it doesn't get as carbonated then with the final product. So if you don't want as much sugar, you certainly can do that, but just keep in mind that your kombucha probably will not be as carbonated as it otherwise could be. And that's it. We're just going to cover our entertainer jug here. Make sure that elastic's around there so that nothing can get in. And that's it. We'll check back in a couple days, see what it tastes like. On day 4, I'll taste it and we can discuss where it's at. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great night.